welcome back to our channel AutoWorks Pakistan. In this video we will be discussing about another type of sensor, which is throttle position sensor, which is one of the most important part of the air intake system. So let me give you a brief introduction of the points that we are going to discuss in this video. We'll discuss what is throttle position sensor, background, that is throttle body, throttle plate, what is butterfly valve, the type of TPS sensor. This sensor is abbreviated as TPS sensor. So working of throttle position sensor, I will explain both of these diagrams, the pin configuration, functions, and the symptoms of bad throttle position sensor. So first, let's discuss what is throttle position sensor. Throttle position sensor is a sensor that monitors and measures the angle of the throttle plate, or it measures the air intake of the engine. So let's discuss what is throttle body, because we must know what is throttle body, what is throttle plate, and or butterfly valve. So this is the throttle body, and throttle body is the core component of the air intake system. It measures the amount of air entering into the engine through the intake manifold. Now let's discuss what is throttle plate or the butterfly valve. So inside this throttle body, there is a butterfly valve or the throttle plate, which opens and closes based on how much you have pressed down or released the gas pedal. Now let's discuss the type of throttle position sensor. Basically, throttle position sensor is a potentiometer, and we all know that potentiometer is a variable resistor. It gives variable resistance, and throttle position sensor, the resistance of the throttle position sensor varies depending on the angle of the throttle plate. Now let's discuss the working of throttle position sensor without wasting any time. I will tell you about this diagram first. As I have told you that throttle position sensor is a potentiometer. So consider this as a potentiometer. These are the resistive wire elements. Inside this potentiometer, we have got this needle that is connected to the butterfly valve. As the butterfly valve or the throttle plate opens and closes, this needle will move up and down. This needle will have to cross these resistive wire elements. This needle will have to pass through these resistive wire elements. Now let's discuss this diagram. This is the part that I have discussed here. Now let's discuss this. This is the 5-volt reference signal that the ECU is continuously giving to this throttle position sensor, and based on this resistance, based on the angle of the throttle plate, this resistance will vary, and based on this resistance, this sensor will send a variable signal, a voltage signal to the ECU range between 0 to 5 volts. So now let's discuss the pin configuration of TPS sensor. This sensor is typically a 3-pin sensor. First one is of ground, second plus 5 volt that the ECU is sending as a reference signal, 0 to 5 volt variable signal. This is the feedback signal that this throttle position sensor will send to the ECU, and based on these values, ECU will perform different functions. I'll discuss that later here. So let's discuss what is wide open throttle. So as you pressed the gas pedal or release the gas pedal, this signal will vary, this variable signal will vary. 0 volt means your accelerator pedal is fully released, and 5 volt means your accelerator pedal is fully pressed. That means your throttle is wide open and maximum air is going into the engine through the intake manifold. So this signal will vary between 0 volt to 5 volt depending on the resistance and depending on the angle of the throttle plate. So as the air will pass into the engine, the vacuum inside the intake manifold will decrease and the pressure will increase. Now let's discuss the functions of throttle position sensor. As I have told you that this sensor measures the angle of the throttle plate, and ECU in conjunction with some other sensors like MAP sensor, intake air temperature sensor, ECU will perform different types of functions based on these inputs from different types of sensors. ECU will adjust the air fuel ratio based on these values, this feedback signal. It will adjust the air fuel injection, it will adjust the ignition timing, air intake. So this sensor plays a very much vital role in adjusting all these parameters. Now let's discuss the symptoms of bad throttle position sensor. If this sensor is not working properly, if this sensor is malfunctioning, your fuel consumption would be very much high. Fuel efficiency would continuously drop. There must be higher carbon monoxide emissions. Engine stalling, there must be unusual surges and overall weak acceleration, rough idling. So these are the error codes or the diagnostic trouble codes that are related to the bad throttle position sensor. P0122, P0123, P0124, 2135. So let's discuss the position or the location of the throttle position sensor. Basically, this sensor is mounted on the throttle body that I have discussed here, and throttle body is placed or located in between the air filter and the intake manifold. This is the TPS sensor. It is a 3-pin sensor, and the pin configuration as we have already discussed. So I hope this video would be very much knowledgeable for you, and stay connected and wait for the next video.